Institute for Peace and Strategic Studies, University of Ibadan. It's my pleasure to welcome us this morning to the first Strategic Personality Lecture titled Combating Adversaries Without Boundaries and the Need to Implement a Whole-of-Society Approach to Nigeria's National Security. Of course, it's going to be delivered by the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General T.A. Lagbaja. I stand this morning on behalf of the entire staff and students of the Institute for Peace and Strategic Studies and Department of Peace, Security and Humanitarian Studies, University of Ibadan, to welcome this distinguished audience and guests to this August occasion in September. It is with utmost pleasure and privilege that I cheerfully welcome our distinguished chairman, Lieutenant General Vamidi Adeosun. You're welcome, sir. I sent a text to remind him, and within seconds I got a reply, and it was a good one. You're welcome, sir. In the same mood, I welcome our guest lecturer, the first IPSS Strategic Personality Lecturer, Lieutenant General T.A. Lagbaja, Lieutenant General T.A. Lagbaja, Chief of Army Staff of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, ably represented by the General Officer commanding 2 Divisions Nigerian Army, Major General O.G. Oni. You're welcome, sir. I also welcome all our distinguished guests to the Premier University, UI, popularly known as UI. We always love it when people see us and then they refer to us as UI. And that's why we go greatest UN.
It is my immense pleasure to be here today to welcome you to this very important strategic lecture that is being organized by our Institute of Peace and Strategic Studies in the Faculty of Multidisciplinary Studies. I know that strategic lecture series is part of the curriculum of the Institute, and it provides a platform for practitioners and professionals to effectively handshake with the academia. And the choice of the theme of this lecture is underlined by the critical security situation of our country, particularly at this moment, and the efforts of the practitioners in the security sector and academia to find a sustainable solution to the dire situation in order to restore peace and enhance the development of our great country. The Institute of Peace and Strategic Studies of this university have been at the vanguard of training and collaborating with security organizations, which includes the Nigerian Armed Forces, in the search for a sustainable, non-kinetic solution to the extant security challenges in the country. It is in this quest that I believe that this strategic lecture was conceived and organized in order to better understand the position of the Nigerian Army in combating those challenges through the whole of society strategic approach. This is actually based on the fact that some of these challenges are usually ideologically based, and it is usually very difficult to use force or just one single solution to be able to address it.
I'm happy to be here, and one of the major reasons is that forum of this nature needs to be coming up all the time. The reason being that, let me use this part of the video as point of departure. All we know about our military is they are just doing their job. We hardly, unless it's somebody else from your family, anything other than that, we don't really care. It's only when they come home, either with like this or we want to engage them to do something thereafter we forget about it. But it shouldn't be like that. It should not. It has been, but it shouldn't continue like that. These gentlemen, including ladies you see seated there or see in the field, they do so much to make sure we sleep with our two eyes closed wherever we are, despite the fact thank you. Despite the fact that the tension is so much, the real news, the fake news, the misinformation, the disinformation is so, they are so much that I don't even know where to begin. But majority of Nigerians, even under this milieu, are still sleeping with their eyes closed. So they deserve all the respect, all the recognition, and all the accolades that come to pass. Rather than what some of us do, we are able to still castigating them. It is those who feel it that really know. So thank you very much for the place. Don't be doubted. You are very, very important to the existence of Nigeria as a corporate entity. Thank you very much.
Those who would come and contribute gainfully and meaningfully to the things that we do in the Institute. And with the fellowship, of course, the Institute is coming up with its TOR. But one of the opportunities of the fellowship, like we said the last time, is that those conferred with the fellowship will have an opportunity to come back to the Institute and be adjunct staff, with their experiences from the field. So today, the Institute is also going to confer that fellowship on the Chief of the Army Staff. The third is to also let us know that the Institute thrives on goodwill. I want to expand that goodwill, drawing people far and near to be associated with the things that we do in the Institute. And of course, ever since the Institute took over the Strategic Studies program, we have graduated several military and paramilitary students, interfacing or collaborating with the National Defense College to run a master's degree program, both academic and professional. So for those who are on the academic program, will have the opportunity to do their graduate studies way up to the PhD level. So we've got a couple of them right now. And so that goodwill is what we want to do, promoting the cause of the university and that of the Institute for Peace and Strategic Studies, as the chairman has said, by giving life to this relationship that we have from the academia and interfacing with people in the society. So basically, these are the three reasons. So part of the goodwill is that, of course, universities are stifled of resources and funds. And any time we go to the Vice Chancellor, he tells us there is no money. No money, don't you go. So we are relying on this goodwill to do a lot of the things. And just to let us know, look around the Institute. Virtually everything that you find in the Institute came as a result of the goodwill, including this hall that we are sitting in. So these are fundamentally the reasons we are here.
I'll just start by saying that the contemporary global security environment faces challenges with issues of security, of insecurity present in every region, though they are more pronounced in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. While challenges of kidnapping, insurgency, terrorism, and violent extremism are prevalent in these three areas, other parts of the world also suffer from diverse forms, types, and dimensions of insecurity. For example, the United States of America is grappling with gun crisis, which has become endemic, vividly demonstrated by the shooting of former President Donald Trump at Butler, Pennsylvania during a presidential campaign rally on the 13th of July 2024. The intricacies of the global security landscape are being blamed in some quarters for the anarchical nature of the international system as nations pursue their national interests at the expense of global peace, security, and development. Others perceive that the end of the Cold War heralded the volatile and complex environment that the world is experiencing. This school of thought holds that the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and the Warsaw Pact were able to effectively respond to adversary containment strategies by bolstering conventional and unconventional military capabilities. This is because, regardless of the issues at hand, states in alliance helped their allies to counter the influence of other states in the system. This in turn acted as a deterrent and helped create equilibrium in the international system. The end of the Cold War has heralded the emergence of numerous non-state actors, which could be grouped into two categories: non-violent and violent non-state actors. The non-violent groups include organizations like the United Nations and African Union, while the violent non-state actors include organizations such as Al-Qaeda, Islamic State, and its subsidiary, Islamic State's West African Province. These groups, in their different ways, have eroded the powers of nation-states, while the non-violent entities have used legal instruments, protocols, and treaties that are signed and ratified by nation-states to hold the states responsible for their actions. The non-violent non-state actors, on the other hand, have challenged the constitutional powers of governments by engaging the security apparatus in the countries where they exist. Activities of non-violence have expanded beyond the boundaries or borders of the affected countries, as there are high-level collaborations between different terror organizations. For example, Boko Haram in Nigeria is collaborating with Al-Shabaab in Somalia and Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb around southern Algeria and northern Mali, with staging areas in Cameroon and Chad. Locally, the activities of Boko Haram and other violent groups are permeated from the northeast to the northwest, north central, and southwest zones of Nigeria. However, despite their obnoxious and despicable activities, the violent non-state actors in Nigeria ought not to be designated as enemies, but adversaries. This is because most of the members of these violent groups are citizens of this country. Thus, in addressing the threat posed by adversarial non-state actors, the federal government of Nigeria has relied predominantly on kinetic approaches spearheaded by the military from 2013. However, around 2016, some semblance of non-kinetic strategies were introduced by the military to complement military operations. To this end, the military began to implement non-kinetic strategies through numerous quick impact projects to win the hearts and minds of the people within the locality of their operations. These, among others, include medical outreaches, provision of homes, construction of roads, schools, and several others. The federal government of Nigeria bought into the concept of whole of society approach by setting up the Presidential Committee on the Northeast Initiative in 2016 and the Northeast Development Commission through the Northeast Development Commission Establishment Act of 2017. These entities focus on developing strategies to resettle displaced persons, rebuild and stabilize the Northeast. The National Security Strategy 2019 will also encourage the use of both whole of government and whole of society approaches in the pursuit of security in the country. This is aimed at ensuring better coordination of government efforts and engaging the different segments of the Nigerian society to be part of the security architecture. It is worth noting that the security situation is starting to improve, but there is still a long way to go to achieve the desired peace and security in the nation, which is necessary for development to take place. It is to examine how the whole of society approach to security is combating adversaries without boundaries in Nigeria and has been put into practice by the Nigerian Army with a view to assessing its effective implementation. The paper will cover the following. We'll take a look at a little bit of concepts. I'll run through that because I know I may not be meeting the standards when it comes to this university. We'll also look at the contemporary security environment, security challenges to Nigeria. We'll look at what is the security threats that we're confronting. We'll look at a few points on the adoption of whole of society approach, as well as steps required for effective implementation of the whole of society approach. Now we look at concepts. To gain a better understanding and clearer understanding of the issues, we'll just look at a few concepts, and I'll start with the enemy. And I think it's very clear what is on the screen. The person who is actively opposed or hostile to someone and something, a hostile nation or its armed forces, especially in a time of war. That is drawn from a simple dictionary to make it easy for those of us in the Nigerian Army. We'll now quickly look at adversary, one's opponent in a contest, conflict, or dispute. So that is why we prefer to have these persons called adversaries as against enemies. Now, in military or security contexts, an adversary typically refers to a person, group, or action that is considered a threat or an opponent. In Nigeria, the police is constitutionally the lead agency for internal security operations as espoused by the National Security Strategy. The Nigerian Armed Forces in Nigeria is to provide military aid to civil authority and will establish law and order. Thus, violent non-state actors involved in acts of conflict or crisis are tagged adversaries. Treating them as enemies will involve heavier engagement, which would result in greater challenges for us as a nation. Specifically, treating non-state actors as adversaries allows for a more flexible approach that integrates a blend of military, political, and social strategies that ultimately lead to sustainable peace and security. We also look at the term boundary because this is contained in the topic and it covers a limit or a line or a mark as well as border as a line that separates two countries. But here I just want to note that insecurity that is engineered by Boko Haram has its epicenter in Yobe State and later relocated to Borno State in the northeast and has now expanded across the entire country. And the fact that it started from Yobe and Borno is important, as we'll see as we go down the lecture. Whole of government approach, another concept. And it's a strategy that involves the collaboration and interaction of all segments of society to address complex challenges and achieve common goals. It requires the active participation and cooperation of various stakeholders in government, including ministries, departments, and agencies. Now to whole of society approach, and this definition has been drawn from the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe that define the whole of society approach as a cooperative and coordinated effort involving government agencies and non-governmental actors, including other relevant sectors such as the business sector. It's an expression of government reaching out to all outside the public sector towards addressing challenges or problems that neither the government nor the civil sector can effectively handle working independently. The National Security Strategy has a concept that is based on the understanding that internal security is the responsibility of all Nigerians through the statutory duty of security and intelligence agencies. The stakeholders in the whole of society approach are government officials, civil actors, women, youth, community, religious groups, traditional and ethnic leaders, and many others, and all those who can have impact on the issues involved. All these stakeholders may not be directly involved in security, but could be involved if and when the need arises.
Let's start by joining Dr. Daniel by saying that I have a very bad cough. I have a very bad cough because of some of the issues that have been raised in this lecture. Before I tell my story, let me start by thanking the Chief of Army Staff for this excellent lecture. It's an excellent lecture. As the lecture was being delivered, my director gossiped. She said, I think we have to ask this man to do a PhD because the presentation is first class. So, we have an excellent Chief of Army Staff asking an excellent GOC to make this presentation. We thank the two officers. Most of the issues that have been raised in the lecture, of course, will not come to us without a strategic lecture series that we have planned. Because we place everything on the table. And this goes to why I'm coughing. The international community, probably the international community is carrying out an experiment using Nigeria. Asked me to have conflict sensitivity, to integrate conflict sensitivity and peace building into the climate change adaptation plan of Nigeria. And that report will be presented to the international community in November. The Ministry of Environment is coordinating it in Nigeria, but UNEP in New York is facilitating the process. The International Institute of Sustainable Development is the organization that is actually in touch with me about this project.
Unibody.